framework, then moving on to explain our case. So, starting off with definitions, we define the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge as a national wildlife refuge in northeastern Alaska where oil and gas exist. The USFG, we define that as the United States federal government. Economic sustainability as the ability of an economy to support a healthy level of economic production indefinitely, and environmental welfare as the well-being of the earth. So this is a value resolution, and our value would be ought to value protected time.
This is not protected time.
Our value is not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's first 30 seconds. Or it's first minute. Oh, really?
Gotcha.
Okay, well, it's not anymore! Okay.
Okay, I'll address your question after.
Wait, I'm just asking to repeat a definition.
Okay.
Can you please repeat your definition for economic sustainability?
The ability for of an economy to support a healthy level of economic production indefinitely. Now, so this looking at the resolution, we can tell this is a value resolution for the words ought to.
Ought to value. Oh, no, should value. Sorry.
Okay, should value. And then the USFG will value economic sustainability through the following. Okay, right. So the following plan. Okay, our actor is the USFG. Funding would be normal ways and means. Our time frame would be as soon as possible, and our plan text would be invert $100 million into NASA to use on space exploration and colonization. Our criteria on
Can you repeat your plan, please?
Okay. Our plan text is to invert $100 billion into NASA to use on space exploration and colonization.
Can you please clarify how this is A, relevant to the resolution, B, actually supports economic sustainability over environmental welfare?
I will go over that in depth in my contentions.
That's literally all our contentions are. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So starting off with my first contention. Our first contention is that global warming is very detrimental to our Earth and its people. Okay, so pollution currently results in about 1/8 of all deaths in the world, and there's many detriments. Okay, there are agricultural detriments from global warming. All agriculture depends on steady water supplies, and climate changes due to global warming disrupt these supplies through floods and droughts. There's also a great increase in wildfires, which damage more crops and grasslands and more agriculture. Also, there are health detriments. Warmer climates encourages the migration of disease-bearing insects, such as mosquitoes, and that will result in more cases of malaria showing up where it's not already. Okay, and this sounds terrible. So, an elite UN report, according to the New York Times, in 2014, said that global warming is severe, pervasive, and inevitable. Fossil fuel emissions have made large-scale climatic shifts inevitable. And it's basically global warming is inevitable, and we will all die unless action is taken. Which leads me to my second contention, that space exploration is the key to our future and our survival. So let's start by going over short-term benefits first. So, the Apollo program, which is a historical precedent, according to...
This is the second part.
Okay, sorry. Okay, the Apollo program...
No, this is the second part. This is the second part of the second contention.
Okay, so I'll go over this part first.
Yes.
Okay.
Remember the pages.
Okay. Space exploration is a key to our future. So humans are only increasing in number every minute, every day, and every year. Okay? So humans are increasing. And global warming also is getting worse by the minute, by the hour, by the day, by the year, and humans will still... Oh my god! So I need to take action! Okay. increasing our space exploration because our poor Earth cannot support us for that long. And in order to have a future, we have to increase our exploration.
Point of information.
We increase our exploration.
Can you please clarify how space exploration is in any way valuing economic sustainability?
because
make money from
you
it.
can't make money with dead humans.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
But you guys can,
Okay,
you have to go
stop
to
your
debate.
timer.
Have that in writing.
No, I said we would go to debate for a little while.
Did you? No, you
Yeah.
said straight up, I could go to debate.
Yeah,
Go
until-
to debate.
Wait,
It's
that's a
literal
little
book.
later. That means we can only stay for a little while. Unless you want to stay the entire time and have to ask mom for a ride.
Or you could actually do what you're supposed to and wait around. Did you know that she's supposed to have been taking me home so far this entire year, but she hasn't?
Do you need to go talk to your sister, Grace? Would you like us to wait for you?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Carolyn, go.
Moving on with continuing my third contention and time continue.
I thought you had a second part of the second point.
Oh, it's the second contention, sorry.
Okay.
Continuing on. So, we increase our exploration. Think of all the positive benefits. And basically, Earth is doomed. So we must divert our attention and energy into space exploration. And that's just the
your
long.
second contention?
Yes, this is the second contention. And these are just the long-term benefits of.
Oh, sorry. No, you still have a minute.
The long-term benefits of space exploration. Now, moving on to the short-term benefits of
Earth is doomed.
Okay, so the Apollo program, which is a historical precedent, this is the second part of our second contention. We're going over the short-term benefits.
You were literally going to run out of time.
There are real benefits to our nation in terms of scientific and technology innovation, in geopolitical standing, and inspiring our young people to excel in science, technology, engineering, and math. So that means that if we
Of information. You still haven't made it clear exactly how this is in any way relating to the resolution.
because you can't make money, you can't help the economy if the humans are all
I
dead.
have a question.
Yes.
What is causing the humans to die, in your opinion?
Global warming.
Thank you.
And basically, if we use this money and invert $100 billion into NASA, this will increase space research and space exploration, which will save the humans. And also help our economy because people have to work jobs.
This is
Do
classy
research.
speaking.
That's pretty classy. I'm loving it.
I don't even know what to say to that speech.
Same.
Lemon, if you don't use the money, you'll die.
Lily, I promise I didn't write that down. I did not write down that.
I'm very disappointed in you, Grace. Can I please have the back?
Oh, yes.
Are you okay if I take it back in?
Okay, yeah. You have to show me how to take it back in.
I'm very good at it. I've had lots of practice.
Actually, because you just, I think I have a bit of time to call.
I don't have family problems.
Yeah.
Mine,
You have problems?
mine don't expand to school because I bike home.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are rolled up because I hate the loose feeling because it really
Oh, the mom jeans?
tight.
Mommy jeans?
My mom has smaller jeans than I do actually.
Is everybody ready?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. Then I will begin time. And as the leader of the negation team, I strongly negate the resolution that in the case of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, the USFG should value economic sustainability over environmental welfare. As a brief roadmap for this speech, I'll first be going over some clear framework issues in today's debate before moving on to address the interesting affirmative case before presenting the negation team's case.
Carolyn, make sure to have enough notes that Grace can catch up.
Okay. So first, let's talk about the framework issues. just as a quick thing, the affirmative team defined this as a value debate, yet they failed to provide a value criterion. They seem to actually be defining it more as a policy debate, despite the actual term should value, which clearly defines it as a value debate. But however, we will continue to address this as a policy debate in today's round, because that's really clearly the bigger issue here. So now moving on, let's talk about this plan. With $100 billion to NASA for space research and exploration. Now let's first talk about a couple issues with this plan. First issue, it doesn't actually relate to the resolution. Now, let's review the resolution. We're talking about, in the case of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, USFG should value economic sustainability over environmental welfare. First, never in their speech, except for when stating the resolution, did the affirmative team mention the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. That's clearly an issue with today's debate. I'll take your question at the end if I have time.
No, I just really want a tagline right now because this is really disorganized.
Sorry? Well, since you clearly were irresponsible and missed much of the first portion of my speech, you missed the tagline, which is the fact that I am discussing the framework issues, namely being the plan in today's debate.
No, framework is very large. Is this topicality?
Yes.
Thank you.
That is okay.
It's basically saying they're not on topic.
Okay, yes. You are not on topic. Okay.
Like framework, like.
Let's go.
Shut up. Okay. So, now because they haven't actually discussed the resolution and they haven't provided any clear connections to how their plan relates to today's topic, this is an abuse of the affirmative team's power. It means we weren't able to actually prepare to respond to their contention or to their plan, and it shouldn't be taken into account at all in today's round. Now, because much of their case revolves around this plan and discussing why this plan would be beneficial, you should keep that in mind when we're saying that essentially this plan is irrelevant, it's abusive, and should basically mean that the affirmative team loses today's debate. Now, despite this, I'll be going through their plan and their contentions and discussing why they are irrelevant, ineffective, and not relating to today's debate. And then I will actually present the negation team's case. So, let's talk about their contentions. Their first contention was that essentially global warming is detrimental. Now, again, this is not directly relating to today's resolution, because we're talking about economic sustainability versus environmental welfare. All they've done here is discuss why global warming is detrimental. They talked about how pollution causes 1/8 of all deaths, how there's agricultural detriments, how there's
I have clarification.
Yeah.
This was the harm.
Then you should have had some clear taglines. Thanks.
Not I thought you were too stupid to figure it out.
Even I didn't know that because you said first contention.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Carolyn,
I said
your
no
partner
such thing.
clearly stated that your first contention was about global warming and its detriments. Maybe this has been framed as a harm, but since that was made clear, we're going to talk about how these detriments are actually going about and how they relate to today's resolution, which actually supports the negation team's case. So, like I said, we have problems with agriculture and many health detriments, pollution, death, etc. This is all because of global warming. Now, again, looking back to the resolution, we're saying we should value economic sustainability over environmental welfare. That is what the affirmative team needs to argue, especially in the case of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. All they've done here is explain why global warming is detrimental, which is an example of environmental non-welfare. Basically, they're explaining why, because we haven't valued the environment, how these horrible things are occurring. This is directly supporting the negation
to get
team's
the whole
case.
story because you constantly lie.
What? Come outside, don't disturb it.
Are you kidding me right now?
Stop.
You're saying that I'm the one disrupting this?
What?
No. I'm going to speak to Mom, and you are going to stay here until the end. Give me your phone.
So,
Make sure you take good notes, Cam.
when I stood up for a point of information, I asked exactly how does all this global warming, quote-unquote, harms or whatever, actually contribute or relate in any way to today's resolution. What they said is basically, you can't make money with dead bodies. They're talking about how so many people have died because of global warming, and somehow this actually translates into economic sustainability. Clearly, the bigger issue here is environmental welfare. And in this case, they're arguing that environmental welfare is important, which is exactly what the negation team is supposed to be arguing. We're saying that environmental welfare is more important than economic sustainability, as is the affirmative team. So I am glad that we can agree in today's debate that environmental welfare should be valued over economic sustainability. Now, their second contention was about how it was trying to explain exactly how the space exploration with NASA relates to today's resolution, and they basically said that space exploration is essential to the future. They talked about how there's a dramatic increase in population, and again, you can't make money with dead humans. So they said, Earth is doomed. I don't know if these things are true. We don't have as much scientific research as we need to back it up. But the point is, it doesn't relate to today's debate. And really, it's supporting the negation team's case. So as you can see, the affirmative team's case is completely irrelevant, is ridiculous, and doesn't make any sense, leaving it unavailable for us to clearly refute and actually supports the negation team's case. So now that we've clearly explained all of that, let's move on to actually explain, in relevance to today's debate, why we should not value economic sustainability over environmental welfare. Our first contention is that environmental protection is far more beneficial than economic growth. Now, as the affirmative team has so already excellently explained, global warming and other environmental issues are causing a lot of detriment to the world. We talked about global warming, we talked about pollution, agriculture, human health, all these deaths that are occurring. What this means is that we are not preserving the world for a future. We're not preserving the world for our future. So, because we're not doing this, and because, especially in the case of the National Wildlife Refuge in the Arctic, we're not preserving the excellent biodiversity that is abundant in that area, we're leaving the world unavailable for the future. We're killing people, we're killing the environment, and we're preventing research and development, and we're denying the interconnectedness that the world all around us has. We are killing the world.
Don't care.
And so that's clearly the most important thing, as the affirmative team clearly agrees. So now our second contention is that drastic issues occur when you value the economy over environmental welfare. Well, of course, the affirmative team has already supported this. I'm going to be explaining more clearly why exactly this happens. Let's look at the example of Mexico City. Mexico City is what we call a megacity in Mexico that has experienced extreme growth and a lot of push for development in the last century or so. So like I said, because it's this big megacity and it has grown so much, what they're doing is they're promoting economic sustainability over environmental welfare. But what this means is they have to do this at extreme cost to the environmental welfare, which in the long run is far more important. What's happened is because they've had to do such things as find cheap water solutions, they've actually had to use up all the water in the city and start pumping water from elsewhere. What this means is that they're spending a lot of money on this, so it's actually a lose-lose situation. Furthermore, the health is going down because water is polluted. There's this thing called subsidence where the city is actually sinking, causing more and more deaths. They're losing money on pumping water, and there's also issues of air pollution, smog, and all these things, all because they valued economic sustainability over environmental welfare. What this means in the long term is that you have decreased economic sustainability and decreased environmental welfare. So as you can see, it's a lose-lose situation. And this can actually be compared back to the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, saying that if we are to actually value the economic sustainability, as this resolution is saying there, over the environmental welfare, of which the this National Wildlife Refuge is incredibly important, then we're going to be having this lose-lose situation where we have so much detriment in the long run. So as you can see, in the case of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, the USFG should not value economic sustainability over environmental welfare, and for these reasons, I strongly urge a negation vote.
How long was that?
A long time. You don't need to know.
Mei-Mei.
Alright.
Grace, do you have everything from the first speech?
Yes.
Just wiping. Are you okay staying?
I don't really need these, but I'll put them in just in case. Alright, I'm going to begin my time now. So I strongly affirm today's resolution that in the case of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, the United States federal government should value economic sustainability over environmental welfare. I'll first begin by addressing the framework issues, the topicality, our contentions, and then theirs. My opponents first began by bringing up that we had no value when we clearly had one for societal welfare, in case you didn't catch that. Furthermore, they brought up this value, not policy. My partner defined it as a value topic and it said that we would be, the United States federal government would be upholding this value through our policy. So now that we've got those clarifications out of the way, I'll jump right into the topicality. First, they began by talking about how apparently we did not mention the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge enough during our case, and for this reason, it made it non-topical. However, I'm going to argue that the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, because in this instance, we would be choosing to drill and instead of focusing on the real problems, which is what is really necessary to get economic sustainability, in this case, space exploration, this is clearly topical in today's round. Furthermore, they neglected to mention, yes?
Could you explain this again, please?
As my partner said several times, a bit more bluntly than I have, but you cannot be economically sustainable if everyone is dead. In our case, we're seeking to promote economic sustainability through, and I'll repeat going through second contention, firstly, through allowing the human race to survive, and secondly, through, as quick and seen, providing real benefits to our nation in terms of scientific and tech innovation, geopolitical standing, and inspiring young people to excel in science, technology, engineering, and math. So clearly all those are key to our future because STEM is necessary for future economic development. As you'll see in our definitions, we defined economic sustainability, which you agreed to, as the ability of economy to sustain a healthy level of economic production inevitably. And we believe that STEM is the key to doing so. Furthermore, we defined environmental welfare as the well-being of the Earth. So clearly we are prizing economic sustainability over the well-being of the planet Earth. So, quite literally in this case. So, they also brought up prep time skew, but since this is clearly on topic because we are upholding economic sustainability and environmental welfare, you can disregard that. They addressed our first contention, or rather our harm to today's round, as saying that all they've done is support us. But what they neglected to address was what my partner brought up, that it is inevitable, that the global warming is currently irreversible, inevitable, and that all of these harms are going to be real and permanent. Since they've conceded that, and they have no real way to solve for global warming and never bothered to think of any way that we could, they've essentially condemned every single person on Earth to death, and this is really not a refutation. So I'm going to move on to our first contention, that of space being necessary to the survival of humanity long term. They brought up that this is irrelevant, but as I've already proven to you, this is clearly relevant to today's round. This was a blanket refutation, which also addressed our second contention, that of the short-term benefit in terms of economic stimulation, geopolitical standing, and our future of our nation through our youth. So with that, I'll move on to their case. Their first contention was that of global warming and how it would doom us all. But the problem is that they, and this falls under the same problem as they're addressing of our harm, that global warming is currently inevitable. So what we need to do is focus again on NASA, on space exploration, space colonization instead. We need to do this because, as they never refuted, which means it stands as fact in today's round, global warming is inevitable and irreversible. So with that, I'm going to move into their second contention, which is that in the case of Mexico City, prizing economic sustainability over environmental welfare has led to destruction. The problem is that Mexico City is not in space, so all their examples are clearly irrelevant. And yeah.
Can you refute the first contention? Oh, sorry. State your tagline for your reputation to the first contention.
Yours was that to recognize global warming is inevitable. Okay. Wait, shoot, did I get everything?
Yeah.
Did you put it off from Carolyn?
Yeah, I think you did.
Okay.
Okay, so confused.
Okay.
Do you have to leave, Grace?
If Carla can run all her things out of her wall for
Can I use a paper?
Are you leaving, Grace?
Yeah. I got Mom to agree that I should be able to save its information to
Okay, Grace. Do you have your pencil case?
Can I have a paper?
Oh, yeah, if you want.
Daeny, go.
Oh, okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
So just you understand how you can help, right?
Yes, and I just don't appreciate it. What the heck?
This debate is gone.
I don't understand what's happening. Okay, well, I understand because maybe you just explained it to me, but I, yeah, okay.
Carolyn didn't make it here.
Bye, Grace.
As a member of the negation team, I strongly negate today's resolution that in the case of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, the USFG should value economic sustainability over environmental welfare. Alright, as a brief roadmap, I'll first be addressing the major framework issues that have been coming up in this round, then address the affirmative team's case, and then the negation team's case. Alright, so in their second affirmative speech, they did bring up a value, so thank you to the affirmative team for that. And in addition, they mentioned, so my partner mentioned in her first speech that the affirmative team seems to be treating this round as a policy round, even though they've defined it as a value round. So they've said in their second affirmative speech that it is a value round, but not a policy round once again. However, we've been addressing this round as a policy round because the affirmative team has actually provided a plan that we've been providing. Okay, yeah. So yeah, that's how we've been treating it as a policy. All right, so moving on to address topicality. So basically, my partner and I have said that this plan isn't topical at all. We've asked for clarification as to how this actually relates to the resolution, and all that the second affirmative speaker said was that this plan is clearly topical because their point is that we should not be, it's pointless to value the environmental sustainability because the Earth is going to end anyways. However, this plan is actually still extra topical. They still haven't managed to explain to us why this plan should matter in the round and why this plan should flow through. And so this actually is a major issue because prep time skew. So basically our 20 minutes have been wasted because the affirmative team has simply created an irrelevant plan that we are not prepared for and have built their case around that, which has made it hard for the negation team to refute, which also minimizes clash in this debate, which makes for a less educational and less fair debate. So moving on to address the affirmative case, and so their first point is that global warming is very detrimental. Now my partner has said before in her speech that this isn't related at all, and two, this actually supports the negation team's case. Now what the second affirmative speaker said to this is that it's inevitable, that global warming is inevitable, that the negation team hasn't brought up any way to solve for global warming while they supposedly have. Now, this resolution was defined as a value, so the negation team did not come up with a plan. However, even in a policy round, the negation team wouldn't need to come up with a counter plan unless they wanted to. So, yes. And in addition, they still haven't addressed the issue that they actually are supporting the negation team's case on this point. So moving on to address the second affirmative point, which is that space exploration is key to the future and survival of humanity, I suppose. And so once again, my partner said that this doesn't relate to today's debate at all. And so the second affirmative speaker said that they'd already addressed this, that global warming is inevitable and that we need this plan. They haven't properly explained, haven't clarified how exactly NASA and space exploration even relates to this round at all, because we're talking about the Alaskan National Wildlife Refuge. We're not talking about if NASA is actually going to be successful in solving for global warming and for all these other problems that they brought up. So this is abusive to the negation team because we aren't able to properly refute this because, one, we're not prepared for it, and two, it's not even relevant to today's resolution.
So moving on to address the negation team's case. And so the first point on the negation team is that we need to protect the environment. We need to value environmental sustainability so that we can continue providing for future generations. And so all that the affirmative team said to this is that global warming is inevitable. So this is an irrelevant refutation. So I'll just go over this point again, because our first point is basically saying that we need to value environmental sustainability in order to make sure that there are still resources for future generations to use and to utilize. So by prioritizing the economy or economic sustainability over environmental welfare, we actually bring about a lot of detriments in the long term and in the short term. So that moves us directly into the negation team's second point, which is about a lot of drastic issues that come up when you actually prioritize economic sustainability over environmental welfare. So my partner brought up this example of Mexico City, how there are a lot of problems with the water supply, how there's air pollution, how there's smog. Now all the second affirmative speaker said was that Mexico City is not in space. Once again, this isn't a relevant refutation to this point at all, and they never previously mentioned in their plan bringing cities into space, which is what this refutation seems to imply. So once again, this is extra topical and abusive to the negation team because it completely makes our prep time a waste of 20 minutes. And yes. So for these reasons, I strongly negate today's resolution that in the case of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, the USFG should value economic sustainability over environmental welfare. Thank you.
All right. Everybody ready? As the leader of the negation team, I again strongly negate today's resolutions, and in this speech I'll be going over voting issues or reasons why the negation team has clearly won today's debate. I hope I'll be able to provide some clarity and some actual logical reasons why the neg team has clearly won. Now, our first voting issue is that of clarity. Let's just take a look. If you look back through your flow, Judge, I'm sure you'll be able to see exactly how unclear the affirmative team has been in today's debate. Not only did they make their plan entirely unclear, they weren't clear on how it relates to the actual topic, and they weren't clear on how it actually supports their side. What this means is that it did not allow the negation team to properly refute everything they said, or to even actually provide an educational debate. They're taking away the educational value of parliamentary debate, and they're making this essentially a waste of time. Now, I hope you can appreciate how clear the affirmative team has been, how we've been able to provide clear refutations to everything they've said, and to clearly explain how they were unclear. So now, moving on to our second voter issue, which is their basically what their entire case revolves around this issue of what they're saying is that global warming is inevitable. Now let's look at the issues with that statement. Now, Judge, if you just take a look back through the debate, I'm sure you can agree that the entire debate sort of boils down around that one statement, that global warming is inevitable, because that's entirely what the affirmative case was about. First of all, global warming is not inevitable. Because if we're just saying that global warming is inevitable, that's taking away the negation team's ground in today's debate. Now I'm going to just sort of be explaining this voter issue, the second voter issue, more in my third voter issue, which I will now be sort of talking about. Sorry, I know, that doesn't make sense. Okay. I'm going to try to explain the chain of events that's happening in today's debate. The first chain of events is what should be happening by affirming or negating today's resolution. The affirmative team should be saying that, yes, we should value the economy over the environment. The negation team is saying that, no, we should not do that. We should value the environment over the economy. So that's the first thing. And what the affirmative team is saying, they have valued the economy over the environment. Now the second chain of event, which is sort of actually getting into the area where it's extra topical, is that they're saying that global warming now occurs. Now this is great because it's actually supporting the negation team's case. We're saying that because of this valuing the economy more than the environment, global warming occurs. Now, but where the real issue comes in is the third event in this chain of events. They decide to send everybody into space. Okay, first of all, we've clearly explained how this is extra topical. They're looking at this future idea, this future impacts that they're assuming will happen. And by assuming that this will happen, because quote-unquote global warming is inevitable, they're taking away the negation team's ground in today's debate. They're not letting us explain why we should value the environment over the economy, instead just saying, oh, global warming is inevitable, so for this reason, we should obviously value the economy over the environment. Not only does this make no sense, but it's actually been clearly refuted. Because what we're supposed to be looking at in today's debate is that first event that I've described, how we're either affirming valuing the economy over the environment or negating valuing the economy over the environment. So, but what the affirmative team is saying is that, but what the negation team is saying is that by valuing the environment over the economy, we're not letting global warming happen. That's what our entire case was about, essentially. We talked about the issues with Mexico City, and we talked about the issues with the biodiversity in Alaska. So they're just taking this step ahead into this new realm that's extra topical. They're saying that global warming is inevitable, and that therefore we should send this entire cities into space. Like I said, that doesn't make sense, and it's not actually directly relating to today's resolution. We've clearly explained to you, Judge, why we should value the environment over the economy. They've clearly explained to you, basically, again, why we should value the environment over the economy, because they've made the mistake of making these assumptions that global warming will occur, and then saying that we should take this plan, and that somehow this is actually valuing the economy over the environment, which it's not. So, for these reasons, because they were not clear, because they've made assumptions and statements that take away the negation team's ground, and because they're not actually negating, or they're not actually affirming today's resolution, I strongly urge a negation vote. That was 5 minutes on the dot.
Good job. How long was your first speech, Katie?
Real quick before you get into feedback, we actually need one parent to come with us because EV requires like more adults to be on campus. Do you know if anyone's parents are able to come and judge on Friday evening?
My dad might be able to.
Yeah.
Can you
Would
check?
would we have to pay?
No, you guys don't have to pay, but we just really need one more adult on campus
To like
because
buy out the judging committee?
no, you don't need to buy out the judge because we have students. It's not that we don't have judges; it's that we need
they
an
require
adult.
adults. Okay.
Yeah, they need to. He doesn't even need to judge really.
Okay.
He just needs to be present because we need more adults.
For how long is it from?
It's from
Do you have to show up at 3:50 or 3:20?
let me
Are
get
we
the
going
schedule.
after school?
Yeah, it's after school,
Like,
but we have some time because it's Friday. So
Yeah,
schedule.
Yeah.
Okay, it starts at registrations from 3:50 to 4:10. So we probably hang out here and do lunch and maybe practice and then go.
And then also, is it casual?
Yeah. Oh, let me see what it says.
Because I know the Leland tournament is, but I'm not sure about.
That's a good point.
Wait, do you know what time the Leland tournament starts?
Yeah, Leland tournament starts at noon
To what time?
till 6 o'clock.
On
May 2nd.
Next.
And I have a link for you guys to sign up for that. They're just having you sign up via Google Doc, or Google Form. Just let me know if you're signing up.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
You want to start speaking?
No better.
All right, so go ahead and go. Carolyn.
You want to send it to me?
I am doing that right now. Do you know anyone else has it? You can sign up both of you together.
Okay.
Do you know of anyone else who wants to go? I know that Sarah was planning on going.
So Leland?
Mei-Mei wants to go. Grace wants to go.
It's novice only.
Does she count since it's varsity?
She's not novice. You're varsity, you're not novice. It's not even like actually like rankings. It's like good, excellent, superior type thing. So she was
Oh, it's like one of those tournaments.
I mean, it's good for experience, but it's not going to be good for.
So you don't get anything, you just get a certificate.
Okay.
I mean, you still get NFL points and stuff. But
Okay. Oh, it sucks. It's one of those little middle school tournaments. Like,
Okay, Carolyn, go.
okay. Okay. Time starts now. So we strongly affirm the resolution that in the case of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, the USFG should value economic sustainability over environmental welfare. So in this round, I'll be going over other issues, which is why you judges should vote for the affirmative team. So first, I would like to clarify over our framework issue that the negation team brings up that continues to bring up that our resolution is not a value resolution, but instead a policy resolution because we gave a plan. But as my partner has stated that it is a value resolution under the value of societal welfare, and the value will be upheld through our plan, which we gave. Okay. Now moving on to our first voter issue. Our first voter issue is that that we better adhere to the value of societal welfare. The Arctic National Wildlife Refuge is choosing to basically drill in this situation, which results in more global warming. And then which is why we should spend our money into STEM research, which provides long-term and short-term benefits. Our second voter issue is that we better adhere to the criteria of net benefits. So basically, the affirmative team gives more net benefits because we are helping the continuation. We're saving the human race. That is our long-term benefits, and our short-term benefits would be jobs in STEM on space exploration, increasing our economy. And our third voter issue would be of a two-world comparison. So in the next world, they're basically valuing the dying Earth, but there is no specific long-term benefit to this. But if you look at the ask case, because global warming is inevitable, we should spend money and put this into STEM research, which gives us long-term benefits, which the negation team does not have, and short-term benefits to our economy, which goes back to the resolution. So our long-term benefits, again, would be just saving the human race. And then our short-term benefits would be creating more jobs in STEM on space exploration, which would then go back and help our economy. Now, seeing that I still have time, I'll just go over our points really fast. So our harms are that global warming results in a lot of detriments, including agricultural detriments and many health detriments, and how pollution causes 1/8 of all deaths in the world. And our second contention is that space exploration is the key to our future, not only in terms of long-term benefits and both short-term benefits. So for all these reasons, I strongly urge an affirmative.
Guys,
Guess what?
not a single one of you was topical. None of you.
Guess what?
Okay.
This is my first actually really nice flow. Like, I actually, matches up.
I'm proud of you,
never
Carolyn.
flow well, okay?
I'm very proud of you.
I don't even understand.
That was an
what
interesting
happened.
debate in the sake that it was really weird, but it was not topical.
This is my best flow ever.
It really wasn't. Okay,
It's terrible.
Carolyn, if you're going to run that, which, I mean, it was funny,
Okay.
but it needs to relate to the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge.
Okay, I kind of
Same
does.
with you guys.
Okay?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, it was Grace's idea, and I just went along with it, okay?
Okay,
I don't...
Carolyn.
Grace is Grace. You have to take everything she says with a grain of salt.
Okay, Carolyn, the thing you have to run is say, like, so in the case of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, I thought that's what you're speaking.
they would be spending the money, right, on oil drilling in this national refuge. So what you're doing to value economic sustainability is to take the money away from the oil drilling in this national refuge and put it into NASA instead. Thus, by doing that, you're valuing economic sustainability by getting rid of a practice that you are arguing is not economically sustainable. You're arguing natural gas and oil are not our future, right? So you're arguing that the money that right now would be spent in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge for that is unsustainable, won't help our economy. So we're going to spend it in NASA instead, which you're arguing is sustainable.
Okay.
That is the link you need to hit, and the link that actually makes sense,
Wait. You write that down.
right? So you're saying that instead of wasting money on oil drilling in this national refuge, or even worrying about whether it's environmental welfare or whatever, you're instead going to go to space, STEM jobs, etc. That is what you're saying is our economic sustainability, right?
Okay, don't say more. Anita.
Because it is not.
Then you guys need to say, either argue that's not true economic sustainability, one, or B, just argue still we need to value environmental welfare first, right? Then the kind of thing you could argue, if we're really going to go all spacey, is that if we just argue economic sustainability, we're just going to start cycling through all the planets until they're all gone. They have no clear plan of action to make sure we don't do this to the next planet we decide to land on, right?
Right.
So you want to say we need to value environmental welfare first so this doesn't happen again. So whether we stay on Earth or move to some other random
I did
planet.
not understand this,
Yeah, it wasn't explained very well.
I tried
But
to
it's a
explain
very
it in my
interesting
last.
concept.
I tried to explain it in my last.
It's interesting, but I had no idea.
Yeah, it didn't really make sense. Okay, beyond just the issue of lack of topicality. Carolyn, did you actually say value? Because
she did.
I didn't hear it.
Oh, I said value though.
She
You
totally
said
did.
value, but did you say societal
She
welfare?
didn't say societal welfare.
Because
No.
I didn't hear it
I
at
don't
all.
think I
Yeah,
did. Wait.
say that.
Wait.
And then Grace was like, as my partner said. Yeah. Make your plan text more clear. You also need to clarify the whole thing about it being a value round, and yet you having a plan text.
Okay.
You need to say that the United States federal government needs to value economic sustainability, and we're arguing that the way in which they should value it is blank. Right?
Yes.
Frame it less as a plan. Just frame as economic sustainability is taking the money away from oil drilling and putting it into NASA for space exploration and STEM jobs, right? Just make that the definition, contextual definition of economic sustainability. Does that make sense? That is literally all you need to do. And then we get rid of the value versus policy issue. You should not spend so much time on global warming bad.
I was trying to make it a big deal. Okay.
I know, but they agree global warming is bad,
So non-unique arguments don't spend as much time on.
right? Because you need to be focusing global warming bad, thus stop oil drilling and actively invest in NASA. So you're basically, put your phone down, Carolyn. Phone? Yes, thank you. You're arguing that we need to go about helping the planet through economic means, right? Through STEM jobs, through investing in space, right? Those are all economic means to try to save the planet. They're arguing let's just help the environment however they do that, right? So you need to, throughout your entire case for all of you guys, you need to constantly be comparing. Value rounds are annoying because you have to be comparing two things. But you need to be comparing, this is what we're doing, this is an example of economic sustainability. This is better than what the environmental welfare alternative would be. And directly compare what they are and what the impacts would be through the entire round. Yeah, you have no solvency for any of that global warming, Carolyn. When you're with your SpaceX point, you need to connect it more to the resolution.
Yeah.
You need to connect it back to Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, back to economic sustainability, back to environmental welfare.
Are you talking about my first speech?
Yes, I am.
Oh yeah. I didn't really get it until like after she talked.
Yeah. Also, stop laughing so much. I get that it was
It was
amusing.
just a really fabulous.
It was very
fabulous
dramatic,
intention.
but Parley is not about drama. And if you start breaking down laughing in the middle of speech along with your judge and your opponents, something is a little wrong. Anyways, also the numbering of your points and what was
That was
unclear
really confusing, and then
through
Grace
the
said-
entire round.
I didn't see that she wrote hard, but she wrote it really small on the side, so I didn't notice that.
Yeah, because that being a harm is a little different than that being a contention.
Yeah.
So you need to work on making sure that's clear, like organization, but then connecting that all back to the economic sustainability idea, right? Because your case can work under that. I mean, like Grace asked me before, and I was like, I mean, if you explain it well, it's okay. But you guys didn't explain it enough. Okay, next.
Also, we go. So can you go over like?
Oh, your last speech? Yeah. Let's see. The main framework issue was not value versus policy. Your opponents literally said that didn't matter. What you need to be refuting is your lack of clarity and your topicality. Because you never address the fact that you were topical beyond Grace saying, yes, it's topical. Like, there was no clarity in that whatsoever. So if the judge wrote that down, then they're going to be voting against you because of that, because they don't see how your plan affirms the resolution. Yeah, let's see. If you're going to connect to the value and criterion and whatnot, that's good. But you need to explain how spending in STEM helps societal welfare. Aside from your tagline of the connecting to the value, you didn't actually mention the value within the content of your point. So you need to be connecting to that. Explain how STEM is so much better and how you still need to be comparing, right? Saying how valuing economic sustainability by taking this action instead of just standing around saying, oh, we can't do that, it'll hurt the environment. Oh, we need to stop oil drilling, it'll hurt all the fish, right? So you're arguing that the actual action towards economic sustainability is better, and you need to be comparing those. Yeah, connect more to the resolution and explain how yours is relevant. Because you can explain it. It can be relevant. But it wasn't explained as such. Yeah. Good job. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, neg. If you're going to bring up they don't have value criteria on set one for
No,
yourself.
but I said, okay, we'll go forward with it being a policy.
But they had said it was a value.
But they didn't give it.
Yeah, that part was really confusing. They should have run it differently. If you guys are ever going to run that, then literally just run it as the definition.
Just one run?
As the definition.
Oh.
Like defining economic sustainability in your context.
Okay.
They will likely try to say you were abusive, but, I mean, it would be more effective than this, right? Let's see. Good job running the topicality type thing. If you're going to run topicality, I would suggest organizing it better.
Yeah,
Yeah. Do you know the
I
four
remember how to
four
do
parts of topicality? No?
I have it written down in my other notebook, but I didn't bring it.
You actually brought it, much of it up very well in your voter speech. Like, I was literally going through it and I was like, you were hitting, like, all the major parts of a
I realized I
topicality.
need to explain that better.
But in your last
Can you
speech.
remind me what are
Yeah, so you need to have first the interpretations, so like what each team should be doing. So basically what you'd
That's
be
what I
saying for
did.
that, yeah, you were doing that. What you should be saying for that is that AF team needs to say we need to value economic sustainability, so something with the economy. Neg needs to be saying we're valuing environmental welfare first, right? Then violation, what they did that was wrong. So basically what you're saying for that is that they're talking about NASA and not connecting that whatsoever to what economic sustainability is, not connecting it to environmental welfare, and certainly not connecting it to the very key phrase in the case of, which I will mention no one talked about. Then you need to talk about, standards, so education, fairness, and then voters, like I believe.
That's the second part?
That's third.
Wait,
so
sorry, what's the second part?
violation, what they did wrong. Standards, so education, fairness, which you brought up later, I believe. And
I did bring that up.
voters. AF should lose on this because they're being bad. Good job running prep skew too. That's a good thing to run. Let's see. Sum up your first refutation in saying you should vote for neg because they're on your side. You can also bring up things such as they have no clash and they're being abusive by taking all the neg ground. You don't have to, but you can.
I did talk about how they took our ground.
You talked about that in your last speech, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Refute the science and technology and STEM stuff. If they had brought that back up and impacted that out, that could have won them the round solely on that.
Wait, so
They
what
bring
was
that up in the first.
They
They
didn't
did.
even bring that up.
They did.
Did
They talked about it very briefly as short-term impacts of helping improve science and technology, geopolitical standing, and STEM jobs, or interest in STEM. Right, so you need to refute that as well. Explain how the SpaceX thing is on your side, because that didn't really make sense. Let's see, on to your case. Your guys' case needed to be more relevant too.
Yeah.
That was just general. You need to be talking about in the case of this. Okay, no one explained what is happening in the Arctic
Yeah, I
National
know,
Wildlife
it's
Refuge.
terrible.
Absolutely no
We
one.
should
If
be
I
proud.
hadn't debated this like 2 months ago, there would be like no idea, right? So you need to be explaining like right now they're drilling for oil. So economic sustainability would be either continuing that or, like they're saying, flee to another planet. Whereas environmental welfare would be valuing like the animals, the environment there instead. So your points want to connect to that. You can do that, some of that with the stuff you're talking about, but it needs to be more specific. Talk about specifically the biodiversity, why that's so bad. Talk about the harm to the indigenous people, all the stuff that's bad because they're currently going for economy, right? Like your Mexico City stuff was good, but not that relevant.
Yeah. I could have made it more relevant. I could have been like, I don't know.
Yeah, you just need to connect that more. Daenerys. Nice sass, by the way. I was quite amused. When you're saying, like, you're talking about how, like, we're just addressing their plan or whatever, just say, like, it's a moot point. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Because, like, no one really says this doesn't matter, whereas that was the undertone in the entire thing of, like, no one cares about this, right? Good job bringing back up how plan's not topical and they didn't really explain it. Connect that again to a voter, saying since they're hurting fairness in education, they should lose the round. Because they skewed us out of prep, skewed us out of ground, they should lose the round. Let's see. You want to talk about, again, Grace had just said stuff was relevant. So just, like, repeat refutation for that, I guess, since she didn't really refute it. But definitely, since she brought back up that you dropped the third point very, very, very briefly, you do want to refute that directly. Since she didn't go for it all out and saying they dropped it, it's guaranteed until, like, later. So you still have a chance to refute it, which was her mistake. Explain how their refutations to your points are irrelevant.
Okay.
And explain how they're either, one, focusing on environmental welfare, which means they're not affirming the resolution, or two, we need to do environmental resolution welfare in order for that to be effective. You could probably just, like, co-opt their plan, but say, like, we're doing it with the underlying value being environmental welfare instead of economy. So, yeah, we'll invest in NASA, but the purpose will be for the environment, not the economy.
That's what I was trying to say.
It's like a counter plan to the value.
So confusing. This was so confusing.
It makes very little sense. Let's see. Yeah, good job saying cities aren't going into space. I was so confused at that. So you want to explain then, since they didn't refute it really, how your point still stands. And then since they didn't really refute it, explain the impacts of that more and why that all matters. But again, you need to connect more to the resolution, particularly in the case of part. Then voter speech. Good job overall, Mei-Mei. I would say explain why it matters that they're wasting your time, etc. Yeah, the whole thing about it taking away neg ground and not being inevitable was new. They should have point bordered you, but they didn't,
it was
so
not
it's
clear
okay.
in her speech, so I was like, okay.
Which means you could then argue against it that they didn't make it clear until the MO or the MG, so you're okay. I was so confused about where you were going with second or third voter issues. By the way.
I know, I was trying to explain, like, how exactly how is extra topical, because it's like they're kind of taking it, they're not actually arguing.
Yeah. No, you were right. You just, like, make your organization a bit more clear.
Yeah.
Good job explaining, going through all of that. That was really clear. If you guys wanted to attack those assumptions, you definitely could have attacked them earlier.
Bye.
Yeah.
Attack the assumption that
But
if we're
we
going to do
didn't
this, we're
realize that
going
they
to
were
be...
making those assumptions until, like...
Yeah. But if you realize that, attacking assumptions is a very good way to go, because they were assuming. They were assuming that investing in NASA is a way of economic sustainability. You could argue that that'll result in the same thing repeating over and over again, and that if we don't change our mindset to focus on environment, it will all fail and we'll all die again.
Right.
Also connect back to your case value criterion.
Okay.
Value/criterion in that speech as well. But good job.